Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the 4 Train Podcast, where Anzo and I are discussing all things Yankees all the time. Let's take that 4 Train and let's talk about the top 5 moments this season the New York Yankees have. So kicking it off with number 5. We're going to kick it off with Luis Severino's return. Yes, man, we miss him. Obviously, in 2019, he suffered a rotator cuff injury. And then on top of that, coming into 2020, he suffered yet again another injury, which made him underwent Tommy John surgery. Not only is that was when obviously baseball season started, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. We had to stop everything. So that also delayed all the physical therapy and everything that he needed. So that even made it longer. So he could have made a return, been ready by the end. If the pandemic never happened, he would have been ready to go beforehand. But because of that, and then because of that, the pandemic and everything made it seem that 2021 was going to be a lost season. But let me tell you, nothing was more exciting than to see him come back in September of this past year. You saw him come back in the season where he was able to throw 6 innings and looked it good. He threw a 6th inning. Obviously, he kept on making other appearances for us, but he was looking good. And that's the thing. We're going to have to hope, especially with this offseason and everything, that Luis Severino has been keeping himself healthy and keeping himself good to go. So, Anzo, besides of having these awesome highlights on the screen, what is your take about having Luis Severino back in the Bronx?
Yes. So my opinion on Luis Severino is that he is going to be awesome. I think definitely it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season. Remember, he is coming off a Tommy John surgery. So we're going to have to definitely see if we keep him in the reliever position. He dominated this past season being a reliever, and he was so electric, and it was so awesome seeing him just let out his emotion and throw those pitches. What I think the Yankees could end up doing with him is just little by little keep him as a reliever, but let him loose as a starter so that he can eventually just become a really solid starter for us in the playoffs. So I think really that's where the Yankees are going to be aiming towards. And who knows, maybe he might just be a closer for us going forward. I mean, his contract is up. We have a club option soon, so maybe we keep him, maybe we don't. I did make a video about this, so make sure to check that out, guys, on my channel called Anzo. But yeah, Israel, let's kick it back to you.
Awesome, Anthony. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I like always your text. I always like you always give a different view on things, and thank you so much. Now, guys, well, you know what time is it? It's time to drop number 4, like the name of our podcast. Well, number 4, I think it goes without a shadow of doubt to Giancarlo Stanton. This guy became clutch for us. Yes, he was money. But if we're going to look into this, and I'm going to look here on my notes, if we're going to talk about how clutch he is, obviously, if the wild card game was in the Bronx, I think it would have had a different turnout, because when you're in the Bronx and you're in Yankee Stadium, it's a whole nother atmosphere in the postseason. But here's a cool take on this. Let's talk about one of his outstanding late season performance, in which goes against the Red Sox. In that series, man, this guy went 7 for 13 with 3 home runs, 10 runs driven in, a double. And not only is that, but within that series, he's also had a impressive late game grand slam. This guy has been clutch for us. Yes, I understand people criticize him because they're like, oh man, if the Yankees knew this deal he was gonna end up being a designated hitter, they weren't gonna go after him, blah, blah, blah. But look, even as a designated hitter, this guy is clutch. This guy is money. He looking 100% good. And I'm very, very positive that the momentum he had this season is going to get carried over into 2022. I just think he's going to look good, and he's just getting better. That's how good, to me, Giancarlo Stanton looks. How about you, Anthony? What's your take I know you like to talk about so much him being clutch. So let me know what you got and what you feel, man.
Giancarlo Stanton should change his name to Mr. Clutch. That home run that he did against the Red Sox, that grand slam, I love it so much, Israel, that I put it as my outro for my Anzo videos. And it's just so electric. I love it. And if you guys seen my channel before, you always know that I say smash that like button like Giancarlo Stanton did with that grand slam. He is clutch, and he's really proving to show that he's a Yankee. And so nothing else to say, but yeah, no, an epic moment he had against the Red Sox, and no one will ever forget it.
All right, Anzo, thank you so much on that. And yeah, I can't agree more with you on that. I think, you really hit the nail on the bucket there with Stanton, and we're looking good. All right, guys, now it is time for number 3. And now we're not talking about Babe Ruth here. We're talking about the third top moment for the New York Yankees. And I'm going to go with Luis Gil debut. Now, he came in late in the season. Obviously, he came on August 3rd when he got the call up. He was just 23 years old. But on that game of August 3rd, this guy pitched 6 innings, struck out 6 batters. He's walked only 1. Yeah, he gave 4 hits. But, oh yeah, let's talk about this. He gave up no runs. That is impressive for your first start, 23-year-old. You're a young player coming into playing for one of the most important organization in baseball, and you had an outstanding performance. But let's talk about it. But that's not where it stops. Then we're going to go into 5 days later when he gets called up to play against Seattle. The guy he pitches another 5 scoreless innings. He gave up 2 hits. He only walked 2 batters, but he struck out 8. So compared to that first debut of August 3rd, this guy who he only struck out 6, this time he struck out 8. He was performing even better. Yeah, sure, he walked 2 batters, but you know what? He's young. He's a rookie. You can't be expecting him to throw a no-hitter. It's just impossible to expect that. Let me be 100% honest with you there. But now, let's go into a few days later, and then he plays against the Red Sox, and then he goes 3 straight scoreless appearance with the Red Sox. That made his 3rd straight scoreless appearance. The kid's only 23 years old, and I 100% really hope after the pitchers and catchers report themselves for spring training and everything, Boone team looks and say, hey, this guy, we need him in our bullpen, and we have him start when the season kicks off. I think he would be great, considering that we don't have Kerber. Obviously, the Yankees still have to look for someone to replace Kerber, but I will say Gil, I think he would be a great fit into our bullpen, maybe after Montgomery. We could have him 4th, but I think he's going to be 100% solid for us. So, Anthony, how did you view Luis Gil's performance this season?
Luis Gil, I love the guy. He is a young fire-throwing pitcher that will make it to the major leagues this season. I feel like the Yankees should really be prioritizing having Matt Blake work with him one-on-one and have him be one of the star pitchers of this upcoming season, especially if Brian Cashman does not make any moves this offseason for a pitcher. Then Luis Gil is my top guy. I think he could definitely make an impact with the Yankees this season. And you already saw what he did last season. Electric. 0 runs given up. Yes, he had some control issues, but the guy's a rookie. And I know this guy will be something special. So yes, put him in the starting rotation this upcoming season, and let's see what he can give us.
That was phenomenal, man. You even brought a different perspective I wasn't expecting. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right, guys. Well, it is now time. We're flipping the page to talk about the last 2 big moments of the season for the New York Yankees. Well, we're going to kick it off, and we're going to make this one epic. Why? Because It was a dark time for us Yankee fans. It was at a time when it seemed like the Yankees were 8 games behind and didn't even look like they were going to make it to the wild card. Yes, you heard me right. What time is that? Well, I'm talking about the beautiful July 10th. And how do we kick it off? With the most impressive game. Gerrit Cole had the one hit against the Houston Astros. Yes, he did not get a no-hitter, but he got that one hit. But let's talk about that. The Yankees needed a win. On July 10th, the Yankees needed a win, and they needed to pick up the momentum, because if they started that series losing against the Astros, I don't think we would have been talking about the Yankees even making it to the wild card this past season. That is without a shadow of a doubt. Obviously, he threw 129 pitches. He struck out 12 batters, and he only walked 2 batters. Obviously, he got the one hit that kind of stopped him from getting a no-hitter, but man, that game changed our momentum. You know, I know Anthony, as he says, Gerrit Cole has that never give up spirit. And we just saw that performance. Gerrit Cole did not give up on the Yankees. He did not give up on his team. He went out there, gave a performance, and he stole the show. You know, that is not a question about that. And yeah, sure, we forget about, we remember so much how he ended the season because of the hamstring injury, but this was before that. This was when Gerrit Cole was on fire. That was before his hamstring was bothering him. That was before any other injury that you could think of that could have been bothering him. That was before that. And that was where we see that performance. I know, Anzo, you are very big on Gerrit Cole, so let me know what you think about that outstanding game.
Man, I was cheering in that game. Literally from my couch, I was jumping up and down, and I loved Gerrit Cole's intensity. That's why he deserves the money that the Yankees gave him, especially against the Astros, and making it so clutch and saying, no, I'm staying in this game and I'm not going anywhere. That's the Cole I feel like we were missing towards the end. I think he was dealing with an injury, so he wasn't the same Cole, but that's the Cole that I hope we're going to get this upcoming season. If we do, we have a really good chance of making it past the first round of the playoffs.
Thank you so much, Anzo, for sharing your take on Gerrit Cole's performance. No question, that was the top performance of Gerrit Cole, especially this season, and I'm with that. I'm with you, and so I'm a believer that 100% Gerrit Cole is going to come even better this season. All right, guys, it is now time for the main event, the closer, the number one moment for the New York Yankees this year. Yes, there was one moment that shined above all of these moments. To Corey no-hitter. That is the number one moment for us this season. It took place in Dallas, Texas, because we were playing the Texas Ranger, but people forget about Kerber being a dominating pitcher before injuries. Obviously, he suffered an injury in 2019 that obviously led him to throw 36.2 innings, and we didn't see him really dominate in 2020 because obviously he was out in that season, so he really wasn't doing much there. So obviously this season of 2021 was a season of comeback for him, a comeback to prove that he was still at top of his game at 35 years old. And let me tell you, he threw the 12th no-hitter in Yankees history. The last time the Yankees had a no-hitter was in 1999 with David Cone. That was the last time we saw a no-hitter. All right, let me tell you, I was 5 years old. 5 on the last no-hitter. And now this time when I'm 27 years old and good looking, we had another no-hitter. It's going to go down, no question, in Yankees history. He's always going to have that no-hitter under the Yankee tag. And when he gets elected to the Hall of Fame, that's always going to be a highlight there. We're always going to see it. Him in the Yankee uniform throwing that no-hitter. And yes, one of the sad things was, even though he was 35 years old, after one more start, he suffered another injury. He wouldn't come back late into the season. But guess what? That no-hitter was the highlight of the highlight for me. So what do you think, Anzo? How do you feel about our number one moment, the no-hitter? Let us know.
Man, that no-hitter was epic. I mean, definitely for his age and for his experience and for everything he's gone through in his career, having to do with injuries, he did it, man. A no-hitter is hard to do, whether there was sticky stuff, whether there wasn't, whether he was using, whether he wasn't. At the end of the day, it's hard to do. These are Major League Baseball players. The best baseball players in the country are here playing. And he basically shut him out. Even though it was the Texas Rangers, it's still a Major League team. And so congrats to him. And yeah, I definitely agree with you, Israel. It's going to be something that's going to be towards his Hall of Fame career if he ever does make it in there. And it's always a great memory that forever in Yankee history, he will be remembered.
Hey, Anzo, thank you so much for sharing that perspective you have. I always like your perspective. And yeah, a lot of things you really hit it on the bucket here. Guys, let us know if you enjoyed these top 5 moments, or let us know you think there's a different top 5 moments. Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and guys, and we'll keep on coming with more live content for you guys to enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you guys soon on our next video. Take care. See ya!